The champ is here. Some wrestlers are born with the gift of gab. Others have to learn it. But none have ever learned it quicker than Becky Lynch. She's the top female superstar in the company, and quite possibly the face of the entire WWE. Let's take a look at how Becky Lynch became the man. It all started way back in Ireland, where Rebecca Quinn was born on January 30th, 1986. She had humble beginnings, but always knew she wanted to be a performer of some sort. However, her family wasn't too keen on the idea. In fact, they were very much against it. They didn't think it was a respectable career choice and wanted her to focus on school instead. So Becky focused on school. She studied criminology and psychology at university. But once she graduated, she went straight over to the United States to pursue her dream of being a wrestler. Unfortunately, she injured her foot shortly after arriving and had to spend several months recovering. When she finally recovered, she started training at a small wrestling school in New York called the Long Island Wrestling Academy. It was there that she got the name, Becky Lynch. She made her debut on April 2002 under the ring name, Becca Knox. The last name was changed to Lynch in honor of her favorite childhood TV show, the 1980s British sitcom Are You Being Served? Because if there's one thing the WWE is missing, it's more British sitcom references. After honing her craft on the independent circuit for a few years, Lynch signed with World Wrestling Entertainment in 2013. At this point, Lynch had fully embraced her gimmick as an Irish lass kicker. If you don't know what a lass kicker is, don't worry, because neither do we. All we know is that it involves a lot of green hair and angry shouting. Lynch had tryouts with both WWE and its developmental territory, NXT, but she ended up signing with NXT first. Her main role was to put other people over. For example, she lost her first to televised matches to Paige and Emma, although she did get a brief shot at the NXT Women's Championship. She lost to Charlotte Flair. Basically, Lynch was stuck in a holding pattern, waiting for the call up to the main roster. But then something happened that nobody could have predicted. On May 2016, she suffered a serious concussion during a match with Nia Jax. As a result, she was forced to take time off, and when she returned, it was clear that something had changed.
Ow.
She was no longer the sweet and innocent Irish lass kicker. Instead, she had become a cynical, vindictive, swear-word-spouting anti-hero. This new version of Lynch was far more interesting and complex, but it also made her a lot less popular. Fans no longer cheered when she came out. In fact, they mostly just stared at her awkwardly. Undeterred, Lynch continued to pursue the championship while embracing her heel persona. But it wasn't until 2018 that she really started to turn things around. That's when she started feuding with Charlotte Flair again. Their rivalry culminated in a match at SummerSlam on August 19, 2018. During the bout, Lynch accidentally busted Flair open with a kick to the face. Now normally, wrestlers are trained to keep their distance when someone's bleeding heavily to prevent them from getting infected. But Lynch was overcome with rage and kept wailing away on Flair until the bell rang. Then she cut a vicious promo, basically calling Flair a loser and saying that she didn't deserve to bleed on her. To say this match was controversial would be an understatement. Many people felt that it was poorly booked and that the outcome was unfair. But those complaints quickly faded away as fans realized they were witnessing something special. Lynch may have gotten a bit too carried away with her facial expressions during the match, but who cares? It was the most exciting thing she'd done in years, and fans flocked to see it. They wanted to see the angry Irish lass who didn't care about anyone else. They wanted to see the man. Within weeks, Lynch had defeated Flair and Ronda Rousey to win the SmackDown Women's Championship. There was even some talk that Lynch might move to Raw and unify the titles, which would have been a great opportunity to showcase her mic skills. But before that could happen, she suffered an injury that forced her to drop the title. Luckily, she was able to return in time for the 2019 Royal Rumble. She entered the match at No. 1 and lasted nearly 30 minutes before being eliminated by Flair. This built even more anticipation for her long-awaited WrestleMania match against Flair and Rousey. But unfortunately, the hype was somewhat diminished when the match was announced as a triple threat. Still, it was an epic showdown, and Lynch came out on top. She became the first woman to headline a WrestleMania, which was a huge deal for women's wrestling. Even though she had to share the spotlight with two other superstars, Lynch's performance was enough to earn her the admiration of fans worldwide. She was officially the man. In the months following WrestleMania, Lynch took some time off to recover from her injuries. But when she returned, she found herself embroiled in a feud with Lacey Evans. Once again, Lynch's status as a top star was in jeopardy. She was now facing off against a younger, hungrier opponent who was desperate to prove herself. Thankfully, Lynch was able to retain her title at Money in the Bank, but it was far from easy. The match was back and forth, and it was clear that the torch was being passed to the next generation. This led to a rematch at Extreme Rules, which Lynch won handily. After this, she seemingly disappeared once again. Turns out she was pregnant and gave birth to a baby girl in December 2020. We were all starting to wonder if Lynch would ever come back, when suddenly she appeared on the January 4th, 2020 episode of Raw, but she wasn't the same Becky Lynch anymore. In fact, she looked completely different. Not only had she dyed her hair a bright pink, but she also had a much more subdued demeanor. Gone was the foul-mouthed anti-hero, and in her place stood a cold, ruthless heel. She went on to win the Raw Women's Championship, further cementing her status as one of the greatest female wrestlers of all time. So how did she manage to reinvent herself so effectively? Well, it helps to remember that Lynch isn't just a wrestler. She's a complete performer. She can act, she can talk, and she can fight. And she uses all of these skills to create a character that is both compelling and terrifying. Part of her success can also be attributed to the work of her coaches, especially Paul Heyman, who helped her develop her unique style of trash talking. In fact, Lynch has said that she modeled her promo style after Heyman and his clients, Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. Another key element to Lynch's success is her willingness to push the boundaries. She isn't afraid to get down and dirty, and she isn't afraid to make the audience uncomfortable. This is evident in the way she interacts with her opponents, often resorting to cheap shots and underhanded tactics to gain an advantage. But it's also clear that Lynch isn't just trying to be a heel for the sake of it. She genuinely hates her opponents, and she will stop at nothing to defeat them. This makes her a much more formidable opponent, and it adds a layer of realism to her matches. Lynch's intensity in the ring is matched only by her mic skills. She is able to connect with the audience on a visceral level, and her promos are filled with wit and charm. But she isn't just a master of making the audience laugh. She can also make them cry. In a promo ahead of her WrestleMania 35 match with Flair and Rousey, Lynch spoke about how she had been overlooked and underestimated her entire career. She talked about how she had to work harder than everyone else just to get a shot at the championship. And she spoke about how she was tired of being told that she wasn't good enough. This was one of the best promos of all time, and it showed the world that Lynch was more than just a wrestler. She was a storyteller. There's no denying that Lynch has had a huge impact on women's wrestling. She has opened doors for other female wrestlers, and she has shown them that they do and have to follow the same tired old tropes. Lynch is not a princess. She is not a damsel in distress. She is a force to be reckoned with. And she doesn't need anyone else to save her. She can save herself. And now you know how Becky Lynch became the man. But what do you think? Did we miss anything? Let us know in the comments below, and thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.